Now at noon, two people are fighting for their lives after a small plane crashed in Dawson County. That plane went down near Elliot Field around noon yesterday. Crews rushed both people to the hospital, and federal investigators say that plane crashed into trees just northeast of the airport after the pilot reported an engine problem. Dawson County Emergency Management says one person was already outside of the plane when crews arrived. That other person was still trapped on the inside of the plane. The NTSB expects a preliminary report to be released in about 30 days.